Thank you very much for asking me along today. I always have to stop and just look around the room because working in the wine industry, everything I go to, the women are in the minority, and when you look out there's a sea of male faces. So this is quite unique for me, so thank you for all being here. And I'm sorry that I haven't heard more about today. So I hope what I've got to say about our case study has some relevance. Who here is in a family business? Some, yes. Who works with their spouse? Even more. Who'd love to work with their spouse? Some. Who'd love a family business? Right, I've got work to do, obviously. Look, I thought I'd talk about the Lane Vineyard in terms of a family business, because for me, a family business is a very unique and special leadership opportunity. The feature for me of a family business is its passion, its commitment, its shared values, its loyalty, its stability, and it's a great branding tool as well as a good cause for madness, particularly if you're the mother. However, I thought I would talk to you about what I've learnt about making it work. And like you, maybe 20 years ago, I was sitting in a seminar thinking that I would never in my life work in a family business. I was in the health services sector at that stage. I was probably the CEO or registrar of the nurses board, and the thought of working in a family business had never occurred to me, or in fact being self-employed. But then the cosmos intervened, and I was married to a fellow who is a marketer called John, larger than life John, and he was involved in marketing that 500cc motorcycle Grand Prix where they just go round and round in circles. And he used to go round and round in circles around the world as well. And after a really difficult trip, Adelaide, London, Johannesburg, London, back to Prague, I think it was, he came home and at 3 o'clock in the morning said he had chest pain. Now, old nurses never die. I said, where is it? And it was on his right-hand side, so I thought, right, no heart attack here, and went back to bed, because he was smoking. And I thought, anyone who can smoke with chest pain clearly doesn't have much wrong with them. Well, the next morning I went off to work, and my neighbour rang me and said, look, I'm taking John to hospital, he can't breathe. And what had happened in one of those trips, he got a clot in his leg, as you do when you're flying lots of miles, and the clot had come into his lung and broken up, and he was seriously ill. So not only was he seriously ill, but he had to give up smoking overnight, and I tell you, that was not pretty. I was just glad he was in hospital, and it was the days of Peter Mayle and A Year in Provence. And I thought, I've got to give him something to read that calms him. So I took him in this book. Well, the next thing, when I get out of hospital, we're having a career change. And I said, all right, what are you doing? He said, we are going to be grape growers. And I said, but we don't know anything about growing grapes. And he said, that doesn't matter, we'll learn. We'll get ourselves a guru. Well, I wasn't quite sure what sort of guru we were getting, but I knew that we were going to be in for an interesting time. Anyway, that was the beginning of our journey. We searched. I was very clear that if we were going to be grape growers, we had to grow them in the Adelaide Hills. I'd spent my entire life trying to live in the Adelaide Hills, and we'd just bought a property at Heathfield, and I thought every dream had been fulfilled. And he says, right, we've got to find somewhere to grow grapes and we're going to move. So I said, that's fine, it'll be in the Adelaide Hills. He said, I don't think there are many vineyards. I said, there will be. So off we went, and for 2 years we searched for a special place. And the day that we turned, I don't know if any of you have been to the Lane. Have some of you been? you'll understand what I mean. We drove up this dirt road, and at the top of the hill there was this amazing view of the Onkaparinga Valley. And we drove down this little old lane, and I didn't know a thing about viticulture, but I just thought anywhere so beautiful would have to grow anything. And there was a block for sale. James Sexton was our real estate agent, and it was a potato farm, and it had just a very old hay shed on the property. And we stood at this old farm gate and looked at each other, and I can still remember that. John said to me, well, Reg and Jack, that was our dads, they didn't go to war for nothing, you know. They went to war to give you and me this opportunity. They'd long departed this life, and it was an enormous opportunity. My father was saying, it's a great opportunity, don't spend too much. Well, obviously that fell on deaf ears. But that was the beginning of our journey. And for 10 years, John was there on his own, learning viticulture. Jeff Hardy was our guru, and I was Mrs. Cashflow, still working in the health department. And the business grew. We had a wonderful joint venture with the Hardy Wine Company with a label called Starved Dog Lane, which was the name of those founding Prussians, the name of the lane they lived on in Port Adelaide, that eventually they came to Harndorf. Anyway, as you know, all great family companies can come and go, and the beautiful BRL Hardys were taken over by Constellation, and they were then saying to John, this is what you'll say about the wine, and John was saying, oh, this is what I won't say about the wine. And he came home one day and he said to me, you know, we've always talked about a cellar door and a winery. The day has come. I want us to have our own winery, our own cellar door, and I think we should have a restaurant as well. Oh my God. That's all history now. So back in 2001, he said to me, it's time for you to come home. We've got to start making plans for the full story, and I need your help. Well, what a joke that was. You know, here I was, Mrs. CEO, and I had a PA, and here I was, I had to learn MYOB, for goodness sake. I didn't even know what a tab button was. I soon learned. The same day that I started, but having said that, I had a business degree, I'd had 2 senior executive positions, I'd had a number of roles on boards from health services to unemployed youth, so I felt I had something to offer the business. So we had marketing and viticulture covered, we had management and governance, and then our eldest son, who was in the Navy, who was a mine clearance diver, said, you know, I'd like to join the business as well. If I study viticulture, can I come along too? So he studied viticulture while he was underwater, I suspect. And he joined the business the same day that I did. And then a couple of years later, I have another son who did graphic design, who was working in a labelling company called Colourtype, and he asked to join the company as well. So very quickly, the 4 of us were working together, and I tell you, there should be a degree in family business management, because nothing I had learnt prepared me for the days ahead. They call me the glue, and that's not because I should be put down. It's that the boys and John think that it's me who has kept the family together while we've learned how to do it. So I thought I'd share with you the tips I've learned in working with your spouse, nothing short of an electric cattle prod really, and creating a happy, successful family business. The first thing I have to say is that you have to sing from the same hymn sheet. It's no good you all having different agendas for your business. We spend a lot of time in family meetings behind closed doors creating the hymn sheet and singing from it. The second tip I give you is learn the rules of separation. And I haven't been the best at this for some reasons. I would like to think and talk about our business 24/7, and they now gag me the minute I leave work, because home should be home and business should be business. It's no good. I'm very good at waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and saying, John, I've had this great idea. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So you must have personal space, but you must focus on the business. You've got to have separate working spaces. Oh my God, men on the phone in my family are so noisy that you can't hear anything else in the office. So you have to have separate spaces. You have to have very clear boundaries and respect each other's skill sets and have very distinctive and different roles in the business. John's the chief of strategy. I look after the people. Marty looks after the vineyard. I never quite work out how mine clearance diving is useful in the vineyard, but I suspect it is. And Ben in graphic design now manages our national market in sales. So we work together, but we work very separately. You've got to understand body language, like you think you do in your family, but then when you work together, it's completely different. And you do have to learn to read it. The classic example of this was one of our family meetings. I hadn't actually worked this out before. I always knew when John was stressed that he yells top note and clears the room. But I hadn't understood that when Martin's stressed, it must have been something he learnt underwater, that he yawned. So you can imagine, as his father yells, he sits there yawning. What happens to me in the middle? I become the glue, making sure that they have time out, because it was unbelievable. How am I going? Nearly there? Right. I think you have to have what I call, as John says, bureaucratic terms. I think you do have to have a code of conduct. You have to agree to respect each other, never to put each other down in front of other staff. You must have a united front. You have to know what you're going to do when you have conflict before you have it. And you have to have a very clear idea about other family members and their right to enter the company. I've got 2 daughters, and one of them in particular is very keen in joining our business. But I said to all of the kids right back at the beginning, if you want to join this business, first, get relevant qualifications. Secondly, get a track record in another industry. And thirdly, then come and talk to me. So that daughter still hasn't got the qualifications, even though she says she wants to join the business. It'll happen when she gets the right skill set. That'll be when I'll retire. And finally, you've got to understand that tension is a part of a family business. And I have to thank Family Business Australia for helping me sort this out. And I can highly recommend their seminars. They're so valuable. We were going through a really tough patch in our business where the boys were pushing us all the time to grow, take more risk, borrow more money, expand, and the girls were saying all you ever think of is the business, all you ever talk of is the business. And I went to this great seminar, and this presenter put up these 3 circles that cause tension. There's the shareholders, they want growth. There's the owners, John and me, we want security. And then there's your family, they want harmony. And I thought that was the most amazing and insightful analysis of why there's always tension. But it's amazing. We now work on the family having harmony, taking time away from the business to invest into family activities and get-togethers so that there is that harmony. And we've set boundaries around how fast we grow our business. And yeah, we still have tension, but we have a manageable tension, and we can work out from time to time why it gets out of control. So they're my top 5 tips for a family business, and it's something that I think gives a very unique leadership edge to any business. So thank you.